be a special meeting now of the Louisa City Council, October 15th, 2019, 7 p.m. If you would stand. Lisa, you listen to pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we come to you just so grateful for another opportunity to be here, Lord, to serve our citizens. We ask, Lord, that you lead, guide, and direct us and help us to discern what's right for each and every individual. In Jesus' name.
Couple of updates real quick. I know it's a special meeting, but just a couple of updates. The water project that we've been working on Boone, Rice, Lackey, all that in town is coming to an end. And it has been on schedule, better than any project I've done since I've been here. They have patched back the trenches in the streets, so what they dug up, they've patched back. And now it's supposed to be starting tomorrow. I know it's supposed to rain tomorrow, but the asphalt crew will be in here to mill down the sides and completely resurface those streets over there. So there'll be several streets over there resurfaced. Almost all of them needed it anyway, so it worked out good. We got the water done first. I'd been putting off doing them because the water lines were so old. It's like we had a leak every week. I didn't want to do them and then dig it up, and do them and dig it up. So it's worked out. We've done the water project. We're coming to an end. They're right now on Lackey hooking up the remaining houses onto the new line. Should be probably maybe 2 or 3 more weeks of activity over in there with cleaning. They've been sowing grass back in the yards that got disturbed, putting straw down. And if anybody in that area has any problem with the way the contractors left the property, and you see this on TV, now's the time to get a hold of them. Now's the time when we can do something about it while the contractor's still here working and the weather's good. Once we close it out and they get gone, then it's not that easy. So get with me if you have a problem. I'm anxious to get the asphalt down. That end of town has been many years since it's had water lines and new asphalt. So it's going to be nice. We're also redoing some sidewalk on Rice Avenue or Rice, which one's yours? Avenue or Street? Street or Avenue? Avenue. Rice Avenue. The sidewalks are horrible, and the space between the sidewalks and the street are horrible because we keep digging it up. So again, I didn't want to do those sidewalks until we had the water situation solved. So we got that solved. We're going to redo those sidewalks. And like every year, this time of year, Kentucky League of Cities offers a grant that up to $3,000, they reimburse us 50% of the cost of redoing sidewalks. That's a danger to liability, and those definitely were. So we should be able to get half of that back from Kentucky League of Cities. The only other thing, had we met last week, I did a proclamation for a National Fire Prevention Week, and it's already gone, but I would like to take just a minute and recognize the fire department and the firefighters for the hard work they put in every year on doing Fire Prevention Week, and we have a very successful one in Louisa. You all that were here last week saw it's a crowded from Monday to Friday, and I don't know how many hundreds of kids they reach between going to all the schools and then the rides on the fire trucks, letting them go through the station. And I don't know about this year, but I know a lot of years our chief uses his vacation to do Fire Prevention Week, and I think that's to be commended. So thank everyone for that. Moving on to the agenda. Under old business, item number 4, approved minutes for a meeting from September 10th, 2019. Y'all had a chance to look at those, but I have a motion we approve the minutes.
Make the motion.
Mr. Nolan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Robinson. Any discussion or question? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Minutes be passed. Item number 5, approve resolution 2019-04, resolution authorizing myself, the mayor of the city of Louisa, to execute an agreement with the Transportation Cabinet, Kentucky Department of Highways. What this is age-old news, but it's just paperwork now. The school project that we've been working on for 2 years, and the state funded that through transportation funds. The governor come, made the announcement, and once that's done, then they execute the contract. So they execute the contract, and I have to sign the contract, and anytime I sign the contract, you all approve it. So it's that same $76,000 that we've heard about for a long time. We finally got the paperwork done and should be ready to move. I have a motion, you authorize me to approve resolution, or you all approve resolution 21904 and authorize me to sign those documents.
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Brown,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Castle. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
On a resolution,
Yeah, go ahead.
Castle.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 6, approve, this is the first reading of ordinance 2019-06, creating a franchise for the operation and maintenance of cable system in the city of Louisa, setting forth conditions accompanying the grant of franchise and providing for regulation and use of said system. Just to recap this whole issue, in case anybody still wonders, as you know, we've had one cable company for many years, I don't know how many, and Lycom currently has a franchise with the city that's good for
Maybe 3 more years.
3 more years. And so we are granting them, grandfathering their franchise until they finish that out, and then they would be operating under the new one at that point. They'll come back to negotiate. Essentially, what this was for was we had several ordinances out there. We combined them all, brought them up to date. Bud and I have worked with an attorney that specializes in communications franchising, and we went back and forth with Foothill several times, and as of this copy right here that you have in front of you, 2019-06, it appears to be that everyone is in agreement with that franchise. If you were to have any questions about it, Bud and I will try to answer. I can tell you one of the big holdups on, if you all remember, we opted out of the telecommunications tax with the state. That therefore allows us to collect franchise fees directly from the cable company, like it used to do before 2005. And so that should start happening, I think, this month, or if not, no later than November, because we've been 90 days. We had to give them 90 days notice.
Yeah, we went round and around and around with Frankfurt
Well, that's true.
on the notice.
No, when they started the 90 days, I guess.
Yeah.
But anyways, the franchise fee we're going to charge is basically the 5%, and that is that's what they're currently charging now. So it's not going to put anything additional on anybody's cable. It's not going to put anything additional on the cable company. It's just going to come to us instead of the state and be divided back out.
It's on page 10.
Yeah, and the last little holdup was, that's really got us the last 14 changes, was they only charge you tax or a fee to 3% on cable. There's no tax or fees on the internet, and the phone is a different rate, 1.3, but on cable it's 3 or 3.2, whatever it is, and then the cable company has to pay 2, so it makes 5. And so our wording was just saying that they would pay 5% of gross receipts, and that kept being a sticking point with Foothill. They wanted it spelled out as we'd like on that it was 5% of just cable TV and video programming only. It's not 5% phone, it's not 5% internet. And the internet's not taxed at all. So finally, we got the wording to suit everybody. I'm satisfied with it. We've worked on it 6 months. Close.
Yeah, I don't know how many drafts we went back and forth with.
So apparently they are so satisfied they didn't even come last time or this time. They sent by email and said they were satisfied. So I hear a motion, we approve the first reading of ordinance 21906, grant franchise for cable companies in Louisa.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Castle,
I'll second.
second by Mr. Nolan. Any more questions or discussion? Hearing none, call the roll.
Robertson,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Schaefer. Yes. Nolan.
Yes.
Castle.
Yes.
Thank you.
Item number 7 on the agenda, approve second reading of ordinance 21907, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Louisa, Kentucky, providing for the advertisement and sale of a franchise, authorizing the owner thereto to maintain, construct, and operate electric power transmission and distribution lines upon, along, over, and under the streets, thoroughfares, alleys, sidewalks, bridges, public ways, and other public places of said city. Again, just to review, a recap of that, AEP's had a franchise with us for 20 years. The 20 years was up. What the franchise basically had said before is they had the right to do business and construct the power lines on our property without permits or fees or any of that. And in return, they was paying us a rebate of 25% of street lights. And after reviewing the contract, I had a little problem with that because it was just certain street lights. And so after negotiation, AEP has agreed that when they bid, or when they respond to our advertisement this time, according to the ordinance, for the advertisement sample, I think it's still in Merle's packet, man. What, will you give us that? Right here.
Right.
Yeah. Basically, they're gonna agree to 25% of all street lights. Now, not those floodlights, but the black post-op lights that's up the street, all those that's in Meadowbrook, we were not getting rebates on none. We will now. So, and also, a few years ago, when the riders went on the bills, they had been deducting those riders before giving us 25%. They agreed now not to do that, and we will get 25% rebate on the riders as well. So, they pay us once a year. I forget the month it tells in there. You guys remember August? Is it August when you pay us? Don't.
It's like April or May.
There's a certain time of the year ends, and then they pay us within 45 days after that, whenever we get. I'm satisfied with it. If you all are, I believe it will increase our revenue at least somewhat for the next 10, did we do 10 or 15? 10. For the next 10 years. So this franchise will be for 10 years. Do I have a motion to approve the franchise relating to electric power in the city?
I'll make the motion for it.
Motion by Ms. Schaefer, second. Second by Mr. Castle. Any more questions or discussion? And the gentlemen from AEP are back here if you have any. Hearing none, call the roll.
Brown,
Yes.
Schaefer,
Yes.
Parsons,
Yes.
Nolan,
Yes.
Castle,
Yes.
and Robertson.
Yes.
All right, number 8, advertise for bids for recreational trails. I sometimes forget how much you all are in or out of the loop on things. We have so much going on, but if you remember, probably been a year and a half ago, we applied for a grant through Land and Water, called Recreational Trails Grant, to kind of enhance the pool and basketball court area, to add a outdoor restroom down there that would be outside the pool fence, that could be open or closed when we choose, especially during the time that kids play ball through the summer. And also, we'd like to have an outdoor water fountain. A lot of kids down there play ball, don't have anything to drink, and there's no real close place to walk and get anything to drink. So, we was approved for that grant. It is a matching grant. As you remember, we was approved. It was about $42,000. We have done all the paperwork, executed the agreements, because you guys had already approved a resolution for me to do that back before. But now, as soon as I've signed, Bud has checked it for legalities, I signed it. As soon as they send me back a copy that they signed it, because it comes from the federal government actually, we can advertise for bids to start work. So I would like for you all to authorize me to have, I believe before we have the next meeting, I will have that contract back and could advertise. So I'd like for you all to authorize me to advertise for bids for construction of that restroom.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Brown,
Second.
second by Mr. Robinson. Any question or discussion? I realize some of this stuff, it's old, it's been going on for, it's just work.
No, I had to dig.
We're
to see
here.
what it
I know,
was.
so it's, this grant is administered by the state, but the money comes from the federal government. So once you get approved from the state, and then you gotta get also funding from the federal government. And it's kind of a two-step process, and it takes some time, but we did get it. All right, did you call the roll on that?
On the bid.
Or you don't have to. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay. Any comments from the council?
We had one more thing there, man.
Feed the hungry.
Feed the hungry. Got added.
Yep.
Each year, Feed the Hungry does a thing in, I think it's November, around Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving Day. She called and asked for 2 dates, November and December. They try to do it like within the first couple of weeks of November. And the closer they can to Thanksgiving, the closer they can to Christmas. She's got 2 dates on the calendar. And then we just need the approval of what you do.
So she's talked to Reed about the dates, but basically, we've done this 2 years in a row. They just have a dinner for the community. There's no requirements, no guidelines. They just have food, and anybody that wants to come to the community center and eat, does. I was there last year at the November one. It was crap, it was full.
Is that Alicia? Maybe, yeah.
And the reason I bring it to you all, everybody pays for the senior center unless it's a city function. And if I give it away for free, I don't do it without you all voting.
And they do pay a flat fee for cleaning.
They paid us for cleaning, but we didn't charge them to use the center because they don't charge the people to eat. And, we've done it 2 years. If I have a motion, we'll allow them to do that again this year.
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Motion by Ms. Schaefer, second by
I'll second this, Robinson.
Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. And Matt had something. You can tell him, Matt.
Rise Above has, from the annual basketball tournament that we do in June or July every summer down at the park, we've got, Rise Above has a check for $3,500 for the city, for the park area. We haven't yet, a lot we want to do, but that's our contribution for
It's the 2019 tournament, right?
Yes.
I think last year, was it 4 or something? I can't remember.
Right.
Anyway, I just kept it through the winter last year. He usually gives it to me in the fall.
Yeah.
I just kept it through the winter, and then in the spring, we redid the basketball court.
Yeah.
Completely redid the surface on it. And it looks awesome. And I'm hoping, I think, what the company says, each time you put more layers on that, it'll last.
Yeah.
So but it's still holding up good this year.
Very good.
Looks good. So we usually dedicate this money to something in parks and recreation.
Yeah.
Something for recreation for the kids. So I'll give it to Kathy and then we will,
Thank you.
oh, I also, it don't hurt to tell this, we I used to have got it every year. I haven't gotten it every year, but the area development district, ours is FiveCo, gives grants for, they call it area development fund grants, and it has to be spent on capital projects, which means it has to be spent on facilities or something that has a lasting effect. Every city in our district gets it, every county gets it, and we have finally got ours. Last week I went and picked a check up, $2,200 from FiveCo, and when I had applied for that, you still have to do a little application even though you know you're gonna get it. I put down to paint and put new curtains in the community center over here because it has not been done. The curtains are from the 80s and the paint looks like it's from the 80s. Probably not, but it looks very bad. So with the $2,200, we'll be able to completely repaint and put up new blinds, curtains, whatever, something at the community center.
Was that the 2018?
I think it was, we just now get it.
I hate to put it in here, but I'm not for sure. I have to look at it.
I think it's only the second time we got it since I've been married, which is 5 years.
I know it's been a while getting it. That's why I'm thinking it was.
The other time it wasn't as much when we changed the lights in here. Yep.
It was dark in here.
It was real dark, the old bulbs, and it seemed like it was like $700 or something we put in new lights in here, so it did go up this time. Any other questions from council or comments? I appreciate you all. I know last time we didn't have a quorum, but I appreciate you just the same. You all work, you have full-time jobs, every one of you, and
And don't miss much.
don't miss hardly at all. And I appreciate you all. One hiccup, John had an emergency, different things that can't be helped. I appreciate you all. Any questions or comments from the audience? Hearing none, Bud, we don't have no.
I've got one short item
Okay.
of litigation, one short item of real estate.
Okay. Do I have a motion to go into executive session based upon pending litigation and real estate transaction?
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Nolan, second by Mr. Robinson, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? All right. You guys are welcome to stay or welcome to go. We won't be long.
Yes. First and second. Can be here last week. John had emergency, looked down the
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Order done.
Good, how you doing?
We won't be far.
It ain't my fault, mine's Wednesday. That's why I complain, it's all put up there.
Oh, yeah, I'm cleaning that awning out of there. Yeah, it's gonna look a lot
That's
better.
what we was talking about today, we was wondering how yours was so
Hey. I don't know.
good. Years ago, years ago, son.
Sorry.